It's a pleasure for us on Tele BelTop WTBT to have Congressman Joe Kennedy from Massachusetts with us this evening. Welcome to the show, Mr. Joe Kennedy.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you also. The first question I would like to ask you, the numbers of the people infected are growing. The death toll are rising. People are out of jobs. Businesses are closing. What the American people need right now?
American people need an awful lot of things out of their federal government at the moment. One, they need reassurance. They need to know that the government's going to have their back, that we're going to get through this crisis, and we're going to get through it together, and when we come out of it, we're going to be stronger. And we can do that by a couple of ways. First is by ensuring that every single American has access to the financial funding that they need in order to get through an economic crisis. That was brought on because of a public health crisis, because of the failure of a public health system here to actually stop the spread of a virus. And there's complex and differing reasons for that. But the way we're going to get in front of this is by making sure that people stay home, stay healthy, get healthy, that we have a public health infrastructure that is then up and running and able to care for our people, get in front of this virus, and then get people back to work. The federal government has an essential role to play in both, in making sure people don't fall through the cracks. And that's what they should expect, and that's what everybody deserves.
All right, the immigrant community are worried, like the Haitian people. We have some Haitian with TPS and some young kids with DACA. They are worried about the stimulus package. Are they going to left out on the stimulus package?
This is one of the things that we've been fighting very, very hard on from the House side, and where we were able to make, I think, some additional accommodations from where the Senate bill initially was. But no question that we need to make sure that we do more. So for parts of this bill, and we're still going through it in detail because it was just released, the full text was just released a little while ago. But one, everybody should know that the cost of testing, if you believe that you might be sick and have contracted the coronavirus, the cost of testing is free to everybody. No questions asked, no nothing. You can get access. If you need a test, you do not have to pay for it. With regards to the cash assistance portion of this bill, which is important and a piece of it that I pushed very hard on to be a lot more generous than it was. But nevertheless, TPS holders should be eligible for that cash assistance. We are trying to make sure that they would be eligible for some of the small business funding as well, to make sure that they could get their businesses would be able to get access to some of that emergency $350 billion that Congress is appropriating. And look, here's the crux of it. We want everybody that was in our economy and was contributing to our prosperity to be able to get back to work. And any policy that starts to say that various members of our community can't is not going to, it's going to be to our own detriment in the long run anyway. So we're pushing very hard for additional protections, and the bill certainly came a long way from where it was when the Senate drafted it.
The President Trump, wants the country to be reopened by Easter. What's your input on that?
So I hope the president is right. I would love for a reality where we were by the crux of this crisis by Easter. That date, however, contradicts and conflicts with every single public health expert that I've spoken with, and anyone that is particularly focused on the coming crisis that we have here in Massachusetts. You might have seen a story that just broke that over 100 healthcare professionals here in Massachusetts have tested positive for the virus. That it is still expected that the number of people that are going to be found to have contracted the virus is going to continue to increase exponentially for the next 10 days to 2 weeks. That after we get to that point where the social distancing order was put in place, you'll start to see the impact of that, but we're not going to see the impact of that in these numbers still for about 10 days to 2 weeks. So I have a hard time believing that people are going to feel confident to go out, fill church pews, go out to an Easter brunch or dinner, if they are still concerned that there is a virus circulating through wildly through a community that could lead to severe health consequences.
You joined Congressman Clark Presley, I saw that from your website, to urge $21 billion for child care investment. Tell us more about that.
It has become very clear because of this virus, just the extent to which our economy rests on low-wage workers to perform tasks that literally the rest of our society takes for granted almost every day. And arguably none is more critical than a child care sector. And if you start to recognize how critical that is when families like mine end up being sheltered in place with two very young children, that make it very difficult for anybody to do their job all day and care for the kids and give them an engaging day so that they can continue to learn and grow. That for young families, that segment of our society, particularly child care professionals and the access to child care, is absolutely integral and has become unaffordable here in Massachusetts already. And the decision to shelter in place because of the way in which this disease, the virus, can be transmitted, and thank God it doesn't seem to impact little ones quite as badly. They can still transmit it, and they can infect other people. So they can infect their teachers, they can infect other parents. So I think it's important that those child care centers were closed, but it does mean that one, you're going to have economic devastation for that industry, and two, you see the ripple effects through everybody else. And so that $21 billion is absolutely critical to get this industry through life support, get it back up, and then bridge to that conversation as to how we actually have a universal and equitable child care system in our country.
3.3 million people out of jobs right now. And student loan, people with student loan are worried. People with mortgages are worried. I know they put the interest on hold for the student loan, and they're worried about the future. What can you tell them?
And so we've been fighting very hard for far more generous student loan forgiveness as part of this package. House bill had some, the Senate bill walked it back. The mortgage payments, two things. One, I've actually called for a freeze to those payments and making sure that people can't be evicted for non-payment of either rent or mortgages. And two, that is also where I had proposed a $4,000 direct cash payment to individuals making less than $100,000 a year to be able to help them make their mortgage, make their rent payment, give them the flexibility that they needed in order to meet their financial obligations, and be able to focus on taking care of themselves, their loved ones, get healthy so that we can get through this. That injection of money into our system to be able to give the reassurance to American families is so critical. And we were able to push that number up from where Republicans initially started it, but it's nowhere near as robust as it needs to go.
I know you put your campaign on hold. What's the message you have for the people of the Bay State?
The message here is, one, this is a time to take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Focus on your own needs, the needs of your loved ones and family. Two, check in with others. This is going to be a very painful time for an awful lot of people that are suffering with increased anxiety, isolation, an awful lot of stress because of either health of themselves, loved ones, and financial potential financial collapse. And there'll be time for politics afterwards, but our campaign is only suspended temporarily, still in this race for the United States Senate, and we continue to post an awful lot of information off of our social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter and such. So we'd love to have people go there. We've got all the communication that we're putting out is related to the virus and this legislation and what people need to do in order to stay healthy and get access to some of these resources as they become available.
Thank you, Congressman Kennedy, for being with us this evening. We appreciate that.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Stay healthy, stay safe.
You as well. Thank you.